deeds, and their words.
During the ministry of Abdul-Baha, 4 individuals received posthumously the distinction of the title Hand of the Cause of God.
Mullah Sadiq Khurasani, known as Ismullah al-Asdaq, Agha Muhammad Qaini, known as Nabil Akbar, Sheikh Muhammad Reza Yazdi, and Mirza Ali Muhammad Varqa, the martyr.
Hand of the Cause Ismullah al-Asdaq, here portrayed in an artist's rendition, was the father of Janab ibn Asdaq, Hand of the Cause appointed by Baha'u'llah. Abdul-Baha provides an account of the senior Asdaq in Memorials of the Faithful. When young, Ismullah al-Asdaq joined the circle of Sayyid Qazim in search of the Promised One and became one of his disciples. In Shiraz, he became a believer in the Bab and accompanied Mullah Hussein to Fort Tabarsi. The shrine of Sheikh Tabarsi, seen here as it stood then, was a holy spot of worship for Muslims. A fort then was built around this shrine as a sanctuary from the onslaught of enemy forces. The story of the gallantry of 313 men against thousands of government forces over a period of several months is legendary. The end came when the government forces took a solemn oath on the Holy Quran to allow the Babis to leave in peace. Such was not to be. The Babis were slaughtered after leaving the fort. Janab Ismullah al-Asdaq, unlike many of his companions, miraculously survived the massacre, and his zeal to teach became greater than ever. He attained the presence of Baha'u'llah in Iraq, and then again in the most great prison in Akka.
Hand of the Cause Nabila Akbar, another to be honoured by Abdul-Baha, was given the title of Mujtahid by a leading theologian in the holy city of Najaf. He excelled not only in theology, but also in humanities and the medical field. He was also greatly revered in religious circles. This great poet's love for Baha'u'llah is described in this verse. 1,000 ways I tried my love to hide, but how could I, upon that blazing pyre, not catch fire? In time, the clergy became so envious of Nabil's fame and influence that they informed Nasir-ad-Din Shah, who arose against him with all his might. Nabil had to seek anonymity, removing the turban which noted his rank. He continued his travel teaching and administered his healing skills as a physician until he died penniless in the far-off city of Bukhara. He left a rich legacy of his masterly works and deeds.
Sheikh Muhammad Reza Yazdi was a staunch defender of the faith and had a great depth of understanding of the station of Baha'u'llah. He suffered greatly during the time of Baha'u'llah and was imprisoned along with others after the attempt on the life of Nasir-ad-Din Shah. The precise circumstances of his passing are not known, except that he died while in prison. After his death, Abdul-Baha conferred on him the title of Hand of the Cause of God. Mirza Ali Muhammad, a native of Yazd, was a poet of outstanding caliber. While on pilgrimage, he was given the title of Varqa, or Dove, by Baha'u'llah. So transfixed was he by Baha'u'llah's personage and utterances, and so moved by the example of the master Abdul-Baha, that he sought martyrdom in his path. When he returned to Persia, Varqa renewed his plea for martyrdom for himself and on behalf of one of his sons. Baha'u'llah acquiesced. They were martyred during the ministry of Abdul-Baha in 1896. Varqa and his son Ruhullah were first imprisoned. Shortly afterwards, Ruhullah saw his father's stomach pierced and cut up before his very eyes. Ruhullah was offered his life if he recanted his faith, but he refused, crying that he wanted to join his father, whereupon the young boy of 12 was strangled to death. Thus ended the life of two immortal heroes of the Baha'i dispensation. Abdul-Baha was so moved by their examples that in his eulogy he bestowed unparalleled praise in honor of these unique martyrs of the Baha'i faith.
The year 1921 signifies an important transition in the evolution of the Baha'i faith. This was the year that Abdul-Baha left this earthly plane. Friends, the time is coming when I shall no longer be with you. I have done all that could be done. I have served the cause of Baha'u'llah to the utmost of my ability. I have labored night and day all the years of my life. Oh, how I long to see the friends shouldering the responsibilities of the cause. Remember, whether or not I be on earth, my presence will be with you always. The news spread like wildfire. It was flashed over the wires to all parts of the globe and was reported by major papers, including the New York World and the Times of London. The British Secretary of State for the Colonies, Winston Churchill, immediately telegraphed the High Commissioner for Palestine, Sir Herbert Samuel, instructing him to convey to the Baha'i community on behalf of His Majesty's government their sympathy and condolence. Similar messages poured in from far and wide, showing the esteem that dignitaries and common folk alike held for Abdul-Baha. This was again demonstrated by the thousands who attended his funeral.
With the passing of Abdul-Baha in 1921, the heroic age of the Baha'i faith drew to a symbolic close, a period characterized by valiant martyrs and teachers of the cause. Thus began the formative years, when sacrifices of a different nature would be called for in the development and expansion of the administrative institutions of the faith. Shoghi Effendi, Abdul-Baha's grandson, was a student at Oxford at that time, studying at Balliol College. It was a terrible shock to a young man of 24 who had happily come to Oxford only a year earlier to complete his studies, as he explained in a letter to a friend, to equip myself for those things I shall require in my future service to the cause. While in Haifa, before coming to Oxford, he had acted as the master's secretary and translator of his tablets. It was the greatest holy leaf, the sister of Abdul-Baha, who was his solace and help during the difficult days of his return to the Holy Land, a place he had left with the assurances of the master's presence and guiding hand. Now, the full responsibility was to be carried by him as the new center of the faith of Baha'u'llah. Here in the master's home, he took up residence and spent a considerable time meeting the many obligations thrust upon his shoulders. During these difficult years, in addition to his beloved great aunt, the greatest holy leaf, he relied on the support of the Baha'i world, which without hesitation arose to heed every command of their beloved new leader.
One who was particularly close to Shoghi Effendi was John Esselmont, shown here during happier times with the beloved guardian. A physician, John Esselmont learned Persian well, and on the guardian's invitation left his native Scotland for Haifa in 1924. He was the author of the most widely read book on the faith, Baha'u'llah and the New Era. The Guardian sought Dr. Esselmont's advice on a range of matters, including the translation of extracts from Baha'i writings, and was grief-stricken of the passing of this trusted friend in 1925 after a period of illness. Dr. Esselmont was the first to be given the title of Hand of the Cause of God by the beloved Guardian, the highest honour that could be bestowed on an individual. He was laid to rest in the Baha'i cemetery in Haifa.